This is Andy Purewal for Boxing Social in association with Betfred, and I'm delighted to be joined by Sonny Showtime Edwards over Zoom. Sonny, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing really good. I'm doing really good. Just chilling out. Obviously, I'm down in London now. Got the weigh in tomorrow, so just sort of ticking over for that.
How are you finding quarantine life?
Yeah, it's easy, man. Just chilling in the hotel room is what I normally do on fight week anyway. So nothing's really changed. Like literally, I tend not to do any training or anything fight week. Once I'm down there, I just sort of base off in the room anyway. That's what I typically like to do, apart from the sort of media obligations. But yeah, I mean, did my COVID test yesterday. Still haven't heard back from that yet, but I can only imagine that it's all good. You know what I mean? So yeah, like I said, just waiting for the weigh in now and find that.
Does it feel any different when you are in your room or when you're kind of waiting for the days to get close to fight night? Does it feel any different?
Nah, not for me really. I feel we can still eat in the hotel and that, so it's not really anything different to what I'm used to be honest. Like literally, I've stayed in this hotel probably 4 or 5 times now. You know, it's the typical one for the copper box shows. Um, Me and my brother both boxed there multiple times each. So yeah, like I said, it's just sort of normal procedure.
Let's obviously get on to Saturday night when you'll face Thomas Essomba. I've spoken to Thomas a couple of times, and most recently this past Monday, and he's very, very up for the fight now. He definitely believes that he's going to come and he's going to cause the upset. What do you actually expect from him come Saturday night?
I mean, he always comes in good nick. He comes with a good work rate, a good engine, and this is his chance to really sort of break out. You know, if he beats me, he gets world ranked probably with every governing body. Definitely IBF very high up. He has a title and a good platform. Do you know what I mean? And yeah, like I said, I'm expecting the best version of him, and he's been on a good run of form recently. You know, beating Sean McGoldrick and that unbeaten Kazakhstan fighter over in Kazakhstan. But like I said, if I'm as good as I think I am, and I'm going to reach the level I think I should be at this stage in my career, I should be handling for Thomas Summer quite comfortably. That being said, I know that he's going to bring it. Do you know what I mean? So, and I've been on to Thomas Summer for years. I mean, I was a volunteer at the 2012 Olympic Games when he boxed there. I was also there when my brother beat Jack Bates in the ABA finals, and he went really close against Harvey Horn in the ABA finals. So I've seen him for a long time, and I've always respected him and rated him as well. You know, he's got some good wins on his record, some close losses against good fighters on his record. So yeah, he might be 10-5, but I think he's probably one of the harder opponents I've faced. But like I said, if I'm as good as I think I am and showing the promise and the the potential that should be fulfilling, I should be handling Thomas Assomba. Do you know what I'm saying?
I was about to ask, when you look at Thomas's record, do you feel it doesn't quite do justice to him as a fighter and his abilities? Because he's obviously fought some very tough fighters, but at different weights.
Yeah, I mean the numbers on the record are all good, but like a 15-0 against absolute no ones is probably less valuable than a 10-5 with a good couple of wins and a couple of close losses. You know what I mean? And real boxing people know that, and the people like the trolls on Twitter and people that don't really know the game, it's not for them to know. Do you know what I mean? Them opinions just bounce off you. I mean, people saying, "Oh, well, it's going to be an easy fight. He's lost 5 times, etc." It's nonsense. But this is the world we live in. This is the sport we live in, and as long as I know, my team knows the sort of the danger we're up against, and then we can prepare for it. And I feel like it is the best I've ever prepared for a fight. I mean, I know people like to say that a lot, but comparing it to my last time out, I mean, I was going into the ring with no hands. Like, I didn't spar for 3 weeks before, and I couldn't throw a right or left hand before the fight, let alone after the fight. My hands were smashed up to pieces. So there was a part of me that just coming out of my lockdown was a bit worried. My body was very out of condition. I was very, very overweight. And then when I started punching again, my right hand was still hurting. I couldn't run because my back was going and my knee was going. It was a bad place to be, really, and it really made me deep things. And then I had to put in about 7 weeks of just graft to get my fitness to an appropriate level. Well, not even just my fitness, because my fitness is there. it weren't really my fitness. It's never my fitness, but it's just the condition of my body and what it was letting me, what I was able to do. But all them things with the help of obviously my trainer Grant, my strength and conditioning guy Reese, and my food sponsor Rendell's. You know, he got me in good nick from far out. I remember some of the interviews I did about 7 weeks ago when the fight first got made and announced. People were saying I look weight drawn. Well, I just lost 11 kilos in less than 7 weeks, so obviously my face is going to be a bit drawn in. But I feel like I look a lot better now than I did 7 weeks ago. Do you know what I mean? In my face. Obviously I'm lighter now, but I've done it properly. It's been like a 14-week training camp, and it's been hard, and I've been through dark places that I haven't had to be before. You know, because I've had to lose that a bit more weight than I ever have to before. But I took it all in my stride, and now I think we're seeing the fittest and the sharpest me that I've seen. I've been doing great sparring. I've had really, really good sparring in for this camp as well. You know, my brother's helped me out a lot. I've had the likes of Lee Woodin, Dante Dixon in, just to name a few, as well as a lad over in Rochdale called Hamza, and an amateur beatboxer about 60 kilos. Like, I've had really good rounds and a lot of them as well. Jack Turner as well, young Jack Turner came in and helped me. Josh Padley as well. I've had loads, do you know what I mean? And I'm sort of doing a 12-round stand on my head at the moment. So on fight night, you should see a very fit, very sharp Sonny Edwards.
Just to touch on the weight situation, obviously I saw a clip that we put out earlier in the week, which was from when we did an interview. It was a couple of months ago, and somebody commented on the weight and saying that you looked drained at the time. Do you regret maybe not being a bit more stricter through lockdown and not maybe training a bit more, or what was it, something else that kind of impacted you gaining the weight?
Nah, it's cognitive dissonance, man. I'm not ignorant. I know what I should be doing. Like, I'm not a silly kid, but I don't know. When you get a fight, when you're in a camp and you get a fight dragged under your feet, you know, I was meant to fight 2nd of May, and then you're basically told the whole world, no one knows when they're boxing for ages. You know, I potentially could have stayed on it the whole time, stayed in camp basically, and I mean, even though our gym was shut, but I could have. But at the same time, it's like, I enjoyed being a normal human being for a period of time when no one else is sort of moving away from me, because nothing's moving, if that makes sense. No other fighters getting one step ahead of me, because nothing was happening. And I enjoyed being more of a full-time dad. You know, I was having my son 3 or 4 times a week, which I never really had the luxury of doing, because when I'm doing 3 training sessions one day and then the next day getting up at 7:30 in the morning, right, like, as a single, you know, as I'm not with the mother of my child, you can't do that. Do you know what I mean? It's not a luxury you can afford. So it was great in that sense, and I probably build a stronger bond with him in that pace of time than I have done to this point in his life. So that I was grateful for. And you know, sometimes it's just nice to enjoy yourself a little bit. And I know I probably took the piss a bit. I went up to 67 kilos. And I box at, I'm a super flyweight, and super flyweight is 52 kilos, you know what I mean? So I've had to shed a good 15 kilos from 14 weeks ago. But yeah, maybe people were saying I was drawn, but that's going to happen to your body when you lose that much weight in that much time. In fact, I was doing it properly. I wasn't just like starving myself. I was eating right, drinking, but it's just because my body dropped that much weight. You could see it all in my cheeks, but I think you'll see on the scales tomorrow that this is probably the best I've ever looked at the weight, because for the first time, I haven't had about 5-6 kilos to lose in the last 2 weeks. You know what I mean? I've held about 56, 55. I dropped to like 54.5 kilos about a month ago, and Grant said, no, you need to bring it up. You're too light, too early. Do you know what I mean? So I've been holding about 56 kilos now for the best part of 7 weeks. And that's the perfect place for me to be, I think. So yeah, it's been a great camp. I mean, not every boxer says that, but I'm in a very happy place right now. But I do understand also that there is a big threat in front of me on Saturday. It's not a foregone conclusion. And there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes, you know, the stuff that only boxers care about, you know, the fans don't. But that after this fight, I should be in a very, very, very good position. And see, Uncle Frank put out the other day that he fancies putting me in for a world title before the end of the year. And I believe he can make that happen, and something that I would relish as well. I mean, if not now, when? I mean, I think there's been a lot more fighters taking world title opportunities with less bodies of work in the pro game than I have. So I mean, if you just look at my brother when he had the first one against Casemiro, yeah, it was a jump way too soon, but all he done really is beat Louis Norman and what's his name, Luke Wilton. Like, So, and then he got chucked in for a world title. So I think I've done a bit more of a extensive body of work in the pro ring. And, you know, if I do get one of these world title shots, I think Essomba is a great step towards that. You know what I mean? And I know he's not come here to just be a step, and he's come here to sort of, you know, derail the train. But like I said, I feel very confident. I feel like it's going to take a very, very special fighter to beat me when I'm on it, when I'm switched on, and when I'm 100%. So if I lose on Saturday, not that I think I will for a slight set, if I lose, I'll have no excuse. Do you know what I mean? No excuses from my camp, from my build-up, because it's been as good as it ever has been.
Just before we touch on what could be around the corner for yourself if you are successful on Saturday night, Sonny, what should we expect from the pair of you and yourself and Thomas come Saturday? What are you expecting with regards to the fight?
I don't know, to be honest. I mean, I know he's a decent operator, but his main attributes are, you know, his strength, his toughness. So I think he's going to try and close the gap, get on my chest, be rugged, be ugly at times, and then try and bully me and old man me a bit. But I mean, I think a lot of people have tried that, and I'm a very hard person for that to work with. Do you know what I mean? So we'll see. I mean, I'll be very surprised if he started boxing out of range and moving his back foot, but you just don't know. Do you know what I mean? That might be the game plan. His trainers have seen me up close and personal. I've been up sparring Carl Williams a few times. So maybe, I don't know, maybe they've cracked the plan, cracked the code of how to beat me. So we'll see. But like I said, I know he's a good fighter. And there's a lot of respect there. I've only seen him at a distance this week. I've not really seen him. I've been like I said, parked up in my room and just chilling. I've not had to lose no weight. I seen him on a treadmill and sweatsuited up yesterday, tagging me and stuff on Twitter, his trainer, Paul. But yeah, I was sat in bed, you know, with my 2 litre bottles of water, and I was just chilling, feet up. I've not had to do anything this week, and obviously just 24 hours to the weigh-in right now, and I think I've got about a kilo to go, so that'll just come off naturally. You know what I mean? So I'm in a good place. Best I've ever been for weight. No sweatsuits, no saunas, no hot baths for the first time. Normally I'm spending the last 2 weeks in and out of that sort of stuff. But yeah, that's just more for cutting corners. Do you know what I mean? So I've had to be on it this time. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been ready for this date. If that makes sense. I had to be really strict with myself, and I feel like I have been.
Moving forward, Sonny, you mentioned, you know, Frank would like to see you potentially in a world title fight come the end of the year. Do you feel now is the right time to step up to world level? I know you've talked about it over the past, say, year or so, but do you feel that the end of the year, provided Saturday goes to plan, is the right time to get that first crack at a world title?
I mean, I'm an ambitious young boxer, so who knows? I mean, I'd like to say yes, this is the perfect time, but when is the perfect time? I mean, I could probably do about now 3-4 years maturing. Do you know what I mean? However, I'm not willing to wait that long, if that makes sense. I'm ready whenever they deem me ready, and I feel like now and that's what everything's heading towards. And my management team are happy with that. My trainer's happy with that. Frank Warren's happy with that. So and me more than anyone's happy to hear those things. Like I've always said, I've never been one to shy away or try and protect my own. I mean, I took risks in my 8th, 9th fights and taken risks ever since. Taking short notice fights, like even fought for the British title because I never knew when it would come back around again when I was injured. Do you know what I mean? Like clear injured people around me, people that know other boxers, you know, that know me, knew what state I was getting into that fight as my last one. But I just didn't know when that British title was going to come back around. Maybe never. I mean, it took me 2 years to get it the first time. So, but like I said, I do want the world titles. I want the world title fights. Win, lose or draw, I just want to be in honest, real fights. I mean, as long as I get paid what I'm worth, like not outprice myself, but as what I'm worth compared to all these other fighters, then yeah, I'm ready to go. I mean, there's not a single name on this world that I wouldn't fight as long as things are good, things are just. But I think on my day I could be a nightmare for anyone. I'm not saying I'm the best in the world categorically, but I think there's not a single person that's not going to struggle with me in there when I'm switched on and on it, because I'm so unorthodox compared to what all these other fighters bring. I don't just do the same thing for every fight. I change it up. I switch it up all the time. I change it 3-4 times each round, let alone each fight. So yeah, I want to test myself because it's about thinking I'm all this and all that, but until you get in there, prove it, and then try and sort of cement yourself as a genuine world level fighter or a world level contender, whatever level I do get to. You know what I mean? Boxing is a very honest sport. you get laid very open when you're in there. So, you know, I'll get my opportunities. I've got enough of a power behind me. You know, BT, Frank Warren, MTK, they're backing me a hell of a lot. I think you can see that by the amount of times I get to fight. You know, the slots I get put in, the fights I get put in. But they struggle to get me these willing opponents. You know, and that's why I was so grateful for Essomba just being an honest pro like he is and taking any opportunity that will come to him. And you know, they're the fighters we've got to look up to as fighters. You know, and I respect him. You know, and he's 10-5 more than I respect any of these boxers my weight with a 12-0 record, 13-0, 14-0 record, and they've not fought no one or they've pussyfooted around. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, it is what it is. But I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to being back. Haven't boxed in 9 months come fight night, so it's boxing's back. Do you know what I mean? And then Showtime's back, so doing back what I'm best at, what I think I'm best at anyway. So yeah, I'm happy, man.
Just a final few questions from me, Sonny. Just to touch on your brother, how is Charlie? What's Charlie been up to?
Yeah, he's back training now. I think he's got a fight date locked in. Not been announced yet. And yeah, he's just back on it. But Charlie's the consummate professional, man. He's been training all the way through lockdown. We're like chalk and cheese a lot of the time. He's been training and living right. His missus a nutritionist. You know what I mean? He's got a very exciting couple of months, year ahead of him. You know, he's having a baby. He's getting married. All of these things. So, yeah, he's good. He's happy, man. For the first time in a long time, I think he's generally content and happy. And it's good to see it as a brother. But for boxing wise, he's looking great in the gym. Like he just started camp. I think they're looking to get him out late September. I'm not 100% sure when it is, but he's way ahead of schedule. He's been helping me sparring. He's been, you know, he sparred Dennis McCann. He's there or thereabouts. You know what I mean? And he's a great fighter, Charlie. He's a great fighter. I'm looking forward to seeing how, you know, BT Frank Warren push him and promote him differently to how it is. It'll be interesting to see. But yeah, like I said, he's a happy fighter right now.
Sonny, obviously a couple of weeks ago we saw that Frank Warren reached out to Eddie Hearn to try and make some cross-stable fights. What did you make of the message and the approach behind it all?
If I'm honest, that's a very sore topic because out of the 9 fights, I wasn't included in it. So I wasn't best pleased with that, if I'm perfectly honest. And I think Frank knew that, and then he mentioned they're working on something else for me. But you know, it's great for boxing. I mean, it's great for British boxing fans. I mean, it's just what we need. It's something that I've said. If you looked at my pinned tweet from I think 2 years ago, I tweeted about that ages ago. Every year there should be a match room at Queensbury. I don't know why there's not. You know what I mean? I don't know why it's taken this long or lockdown to do it. I don't know why the fights are kept so separate. Surely there's got to be one way they can work it out where the person who shows it on, the promoter gets like, I don't know, some sort of benefit. I don't know, but that's probably why. But it doesn't need to be this Cold War anymore because you miss out on a hell of a lot of good fights because of promotional backing and it's nonsensical, to be honest. It doesn't do anything for boxing. So the fact that Frank and BT are really pushing and promoting that is good. I mean, I don't know how many of them fights are going to get made, but I'd like to see most of them. I mean, it'd be interesting. It'd be something added as well. Do you know what I mean? They could really make the event on that because then it would start. Well, I think boxing fans would love it because there's probably a large proportion of boxing fans. I don't know. I still think it's the minority, but there's a large. If you just look on Twitter, there's a large amount of people that kind of follow a promoter. They're either a Team Frank or Team Eddie. And I feel like you see that in the tweets and people talking down on certain cards, but then making excuses on certain cards. I remember I had a discussion with someone on Twitter the other day about Eddie's viewing figures have all been better. And I was like, weren't Frank Warren's Carl Frampton Conlon show the most watched in lockdown or something? It was like, oh, but they're not Frank's fighters or something. You know what I mean? So it's like, whatever they can do to fit the narrative. And I think this will finally give them some bragging rights. It'll be like, I don't know, it'll be like Barcelona versus Real Madrid. You know what I mean? So it'll give the fans something added that they didn't even know they wanted because subconsciously they've been supporting one of the promoters over the other one, regardless. You know what I mean? And you do have that where people just sort of blindly follow the promoter and will make excuses for the badder thing or the badder shows that they do, and just slate everything else the other promoter does. So, like I said, it will be good for the fans definitely, and the whole idea of doing a couple of shows where all the top 4 fights will be a Frank versus Eddie fighter, and it'll be good, and you'll probably start seeing some, more breakout fights. Think how many fights there you've wanted to see for the last however many years, and they just haven't happened because literally who the fight is promoted by.
Final question from me, Sonny. Obviously, this past weekend we saw a huge and a stunning victory, but a victory for Alexander Povetkin against Dillian Whyte with that 5th round stoppage. What did you make of their fighting, obviously, with the stoppage itself?
If I'm honest, I've always rated Povetkin. I mean, I know it's really easy to say after. I've always rated. You don't win. What did he win? He won Olympic gold medal about 20 years ago, didn't he? But he's always good value for money. He comes to have a go. He's tough. I mean, his punch resistance has gone way down to what it was. Maybe that's the age. Maybe that's because he's a clean fighter now. Who knows? But his punch resistance has gone way down, and you could see that. There was jabs rocking him, and he got put down a couple of times. But the last thing you lose is your punch. You know what I mean? The last thing you lose, and he's always been good at setting traps, and it was one that Dillian maybe switched off a little bit because he probably thought getting up off that after the 4th round that, it was in the bag, and that is something that really does happen. I mean, fighters switch off. We're humans at the end of the day. Fighters switch off, and I think that's more Whyte did. But up to that point, it was a good fight anyway. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like the commentary and it was sort of pushing a narrative that Dillian was completely battering him. I mean, he was definitely up, and that 4th round definitely cemented that. Probably maybe give Povetkin 1 round somewhere before that. But he was doing a good body of work himself, which I don't think you really seen on some of the commentaries. But like I said, I watched it on DAZN's commentary, and I thought Barker and Chris Lloyd, isn't it? Yeah, they were calling the fight quite well. I can't remember what they were. They had it, but they were calling the fight quite well. And I respect and appreciate their commentary because I think they're one of the best duos out at the moment. But yeah, the rematch I think has got to happen because I don't think Povetkin right now will get any bigger money anywhere else anyway. So I feel like it's nailed on. I'm pretty sure there was a clause. That's what's been spoken about. And I wouldn't be surprised if Whyte come back and put that right. You know what I mean? Because he was boxing well before that. And he did look about a minute away from knocking out Povetkin. You know what I mean? A couple more big shots and it looked like he was gone. He couldn't just keep getting up and down. The ref wouldn't have allowed it. You know what I mean? But yeah, I like Dillian. He's always been right with me. I like him. I like his brother. And they're good people. Do you know what I mean? And they've always shown me love, and I like him personally. I like him as a fighter as well. I mean, you've never watched one boring Dillian Whyte fight, have you? I think the one thing that it doesn't really annoy me because it's just life, isn't it? Like everyone just thinks it turns into like a Twitter meme, doesn't it? Like that's all it turns into, and it's pathetic, really. But at the same time, it's this world we live in. You know what I mean? We make a living and make money. It's someone like Dillian, obviously, he's got 100 times the platform, if not more than that, than someone of me. But you make a living off that, public persona and profile, and so you've got to be prepared to deal with the negative side of things when it comes. I told the media guy, the Frank Royal media guy, to leave Dillian alone the other day. And he went, no, Frank has actually been telling me to write what to write. And I was like, oh, fair enough then, do you know what I mean? But yeah, gutted for Dillian because I do prefer, tend to always sort of support and back our own, especially if I know him personally and they're good with me. So he's a great fighter and he'll come again. It's a bit of a sickener though that after all the hoops he's had to jump through, that now he's sort of lost his mandatory. Do you know what I mean? It is a bit of a sickener. But boxing's a funny world. He'll probably get his biggest fight offer now coming off that, or after this Povetkin stuff. It just seems to work out that way a lot of the time. But there's still loads there for him, a lot of big nights ahead. And yeah, I would like to see him get the world title. Obviously, it's going to be very hard when you still got AJ knocking about, when you've still got Fury, even Wilder. They're they're very good fighters. You know what I mean? So it'll be interesting just to see what happens with the heavyweight division, because when you've got someone like Tyson and then someone like AJ holding all the marbles between them two, they need to get through their fights. They need to get to each other, and then that's for all the governing bodies have let them keep all their belts. It's just it's a delicate situation. You know what I mean? So I'd like to see that fight get made more sooner rather than later. But like AJ's got Pulev, hasn't he? And Fury's got Wilder to chalk out again. So who knows what the futures hold? In a few months' time, we might not be wanting to see AJ versus Fury. We might want to be seeing AJ versus Wilder, or Pulev versus Fury, or Pulev versus Wilder. Who knows? You know what I mean? It's like, it's just so, it's all over the place. It's sporadic boxing. You know what I mean? And that's why we love it, because things can change very, very quickly. But yeah, Dillian will come again, I think. And I did like some of the changes that I was seeing in this boxing, to be honest. A lot of people going, oh, well, if he jumped on him like he would have before, I thought he was boxing well. I thought he was boxing tidy, a lot more composed, relaxed. He just switched off and got caught with a hell of a shot. I mean, Povetkin rolled the years back with that one, and that's boxing, man. Take it on the chin. He'll be looking at his bank. He probably got paid by now. And he'll be very happy with what's in there, I can only imagine. So, yeah, it's boxing, man. Like, it's like expecting a goalkeeper to go for his whole career and never conceding a goal, you know what I mean? It's like, our generation has been spoiled by Mayweather. I mean that in the nicest way towards Mayweather as possible, but very, very few people have a big limelight career where they remain undefeated, because the ones that tend to do it tend not to reach the highest levels and stay undefeated. Then you've got Andre Ward, you've got Kawasaki, you know, we've had a few that have retired and got to the top, stayed on top, and then retired at the top. But it is what it is, man. Like, everyone's situation is different. Not everyone can make that sort of money where they come to the end of whatever they think is their career done, and they don't need to think about money again. So that's why a lot of people keep fighting on, because we've got bills to pay, we've got families to feed, and kids to provide for, and you know what I mean. And a lot of boxers just can't not get out of the limelight, but you know, boxing's a sport that forgets about its fighters very, very quickly, unless you get sort of etched into the Hall of Fame, you know, the all-time greats. You get forgotten about very, very quickly, and it happens so many times. So that's why I tend not to judge on it too much, or how a fighter chooses, you know, what routes to take, what paths to take, because everyone's situation is different. I mean, but yeah, Dillian, he was trying to protect that number one mandatory for so long, and obviously, eventually, hard fight after hard fight after hard fight, it's not gone his way. But like he said straight after this, heavyweight boxing, isn't it?
Sonny, we will leave that there now then, and I will leave you to enjoy the rest of your day. I appreciate you giving up some time, mate, and obviously best of luck with Saturday night. Thank you for speaking to Boxing Social.
Cheers for having me on.